When you stop and think about it, life on Earth is just mind-bogglingly diverse, from the biggest blue whale to the absolute tiniest little bacteria. So how in the world do scientists make sense of it all? How do you even begin to organize millions and millions of species? Well, it turns out biology has a pretty brilliant filing system.
And here it is. This is our roadmap for today. For a long time now, scientists have grouped all living things into 5 major categories, or kingdoms. This chart lays it out perfectly. You've got animals, plants, fungi, protists, and Monera, though nowadays we mostly call that last one prokaryotes. So let's dive in and break down what makes each of these kingdoms totally unique.
Okay, first up, the kingdom that we call home, the animal kingdom. From the tiniest insect to the biggest elephant, every member of this group has one big thing in common. They've got to eat other living things to survive. So, what does it take to get into the animal club? Well, first, you have to be multicellular, made of lots of cells working together. Super important, those cells have a nucleus, kind of like a little command center. But here's the key. They have no rigid cell walls and no chloroplasts. That lack of a cell wall is why we can move around, and the lack of chloroplasts, that's why we can't just sunbathe for lunch. We have to go out and get our food.
All right, let's shift gears to the kingdom that is, quite literally, the foundation for most life on land. I'm talking about the plants. They are the planet's great producers. Now, this is where we see some major differences from animals. Like us, their cells have a nucleus, but, and this is a big but, their cells have a stiff, rigid wall made of a material called cellulose. That's what makes a tree sturdy and a celery stick crunchy. And of course, they have chloroplasts. These are the tiny green engines inside their cells that let them do photosynthesis, turning pure sunlight into food. Pretty amazing, right? For the longest time, people thought fungi, like mushrooms and molds, were just really weird plants. But nope, they are so different, they get their very own kingdom. Meet nature's ultimate recycling crew, the fungi.
And this slide really shows you why they're in a league of their own. Some are multicellular, like a mushroom, but others, like the yeast we use for bread, are just single cells. They do have cell walls, but they're not made of that planty cellulose. And the biggest giveaway? No chlorophyll. They can't photosynthesize. Instead, they just absorb nutrients from whatever is around them, usually dead stuff. They are the decomposers, and without them, the world would be a very messy place.
Okay, we've covered the big 3 kingdoms that we can mostly see with our own eyes. Now it's time to bust out the microscope and take a journey into the huge, invisible world of the final 2 kingdoms.
So welcome to the world of the protists, or Protectista. This kingdom is, well, it's kind of a biological junk drawer. Basically, if you're a tiny organism, you have a nucleus in your cell, but you're not an animal, a plant, or a fungus, you probably get tossed in here. It's an incredibly diverse bunch.
But here's the one feature that ties them all together. Take a close look at these 2 examples. See that darker, well-defined spot inside each of them? That's it. That's the nucleus, the cellular control center that holds all their DNA all wrapped up nice and neat. That little feature is everything. And that brings us to our very last kingdom, the prokaryotes. This group is basically all the bacteria. And their most important, most defining feature is actually what they don't have. They are the only kingdom of life on this planet whose cells have no nucleus at all.
This diagram shows you exactly what that looks like. See that tangled mess of DNA right in the middle? It's just floating there. It's free in the cytoplasm. There's no container, no membrane, no nucleus holding it in. You can also spot other cool features like plasmids. Those are those extra little circles of DNA. This whole setup is just fundamentally different from every other kingdom we've looked at.
So let's put this side by side because this is a really, really big deal. Those first 4 kingdoms, the animals, plants, fungi, and protists, we lump them all together and call them eukaryotes. The defining feature? Their cells have a nucleus. The prokaryotes stand completely alone. This one little difference, having a nucleus or not, is one of the oldest and most profound splits in the entire history of life on Earth.
And the differences really don't stop there. This chart just hammers home how unique prokaryotes are. No nucleus, like we said. They also don't have mitochondria, the little powerhouses that other cells use for energy. Their DNA is a free-floating loop, and they often have those extra little plasmids. It's just a completely different blueprint for how to build a living thing.
So, why do we even care about all this? Why go through the trouble of sorting everything? Well, because understanding these 5 kingdoms isn't just about memorizing some biology facts. It's about understanding the deep, sweeping story of evolution. It's about seeing how ecosystems actually work, and it's about figuring out our own place, as animals, in this huge, complicated, and beautiful web of life.
And that leads me to one last little thought to leave you with. This 5-kingdom system has worked really well for a long time. But as our technology gets better, we're exploring places we've never been before, like the deepest parts of the ocean or boiling hot springs. And we keep finding life that really pushes the boundaries of these old definitions. So it really makes you wonder, could there be a 6th kingdom out there just waiting for us to find it?